Yo, what's going on? We're just going to be doing a little UFC Vegas 116 recap that just happened this weekend. We're just going to be talking about the fights that took place, what happened, and who I think the winners should face next. Let's just get straight into it. Alright, to kick things off with the main card opener, Marcus Buchecha versus Raoni Spann. First thing I've got to say is Buchecha's style doesn't seem to work in MMA right now. Obviously, the guy's an elite grappler, ADCC gold medalist, with many more accomplishments, but at heavyweight, you need more than that. You can't be one-dimensional, even in a division that doesn't have the deepest skill bag. But man, Raoni Spann, what a finish. He got taken down in the first round, but nothing really came from it, nothing too dangerous. And he comes back in the second, just lands that huge flush right hand, and it was lights out almost instantly. Spann obviously isn't the most consistent fighter. He's pretty on and off throughout his career. But the reality is, heavyweight is pretty lackluster, so putting some wins together doesn't really take much to get in a good position into the rankings. He's on a 2-fight win streak, and he's in a really good spot to fight someone in the top 15 next. For me, honestly, obviously you should fight someone in the top 15 next. Marcin Tybura makes a lot of sense. The guy's a gatekeeper. He can mix it up. He's pretty well-rounded. And it really does test if Spann really can make the top 15 of heavyweight or not. Or next weekend, if Tai Tuivasa can get a win at UFC Perth, that'd be a really good fight as well. Just a pure striking battle between the two. Honestly, either one of them would be a good fight to see. Now for the Barcelos versus Jackson fight. I'll be honest, I know Jackson's been putting together some wins quietly in the bantamweight division, but his fight against Deiveson Figueiredo raised some concerns for me, if I'm being honest. He showed that if you can bring pressure to Jackson and mix in the grappling, it really disrupts his game plan. And those reasons alone maybe lean towards Barcelos in this fight. He showed in his last few fights that he brings the pressure and he brings the elite level grappling, and he can mix it together, unlike someone like Marcus Buchecha. He knows how to blend it in well with his striking, he's patient, and he can set things up properly without forcing it. But when the fight started, it didn't start very good for him. He got dropped in the first round. Couldn't really get his grappling going at all. But what impressed me was the adjustments he started to make. He started pressuring Jackson more with the hands, backing him up towards the cage, and that's where everything changed. Once Jackson started reacting to Barcelos' striking, the takedowns really opened up from there. It was rinse and repeat. He'd get him down. As soon as Jackson would get back up, Barcelos would just pressure him against the cage again. Mixing the striking and the grappling is overall what won him the fight. Now, for how old Barcelos is, he's on a really solid run. Finally broke into the rankings after a 4-5 fight win streak, I think. And this is where it gets interesting. For me, the next step is to give him someone higher up. I don't want to see him fight downwards. And someone like Chito Vera makes perfect sense. The guy's on a 4-fight losing streak, and it creates a situation where either Barcelos keeps building up the momentum or Vera has a chance to turn things around and show that he's still a part of the top 15 of bantamweight. Now, moving on to the fight of the night, Davy Grant versus Adrian Luna Martinetti. I'll be honest, I expected Martinetti to have a lot more success in this fight. Coming in is usually a guy that brings the pressure, brings the volume, heavy boxing style. And against a 40-year-old Davy Grant, I thought the pace and output might be the difference in this fight, but I was wrong. As the fight played out, Grant showed that his backwards footwork could really change and disrupt whatever this guy had going on. He did a really good job staying light, circling on the outside, not letting Martinetti plant his feet to get those combinations off. And Grant, on the outside, he was landing more, cleaner, and damaging shots, throwing more combinations throughout the whole fight and hurting Martinetti a few times. Moving forward for Grant, I don't really see him pushing for the rankings at his age, and I feel like he's just an entertaining gatekeeper at this moment. So with that in mind, I think, this might be crazy to a lot of people, I think he should face someone like Cody Garbrandt next. Both guys are at a similar spot in their careers, not quite top 15, but still good enough to be some solid opponents, and in my opinion, that would be a really good fight. Going on to this absolute banger of a fight right before the co-main, Rafa Garcia really showed some excellent skills out there. If you were watching, the big takeaway that I'd take away from this fight is how effective it is to push a pace and put the pressure on a heavy hitter such as Alexander Hernandez. From the start, Garcia was giving Hernandez no breathing room whatsoever, almost doubling him in strikes within the first round and slamming him twice. Now, going into round 2, I really thought, or it looked like to me, that Hernandez might be finding his way back into the fight. He was still predominantly on the back foot, but he was able to start matching the volume with Garcia and had way better moments than the first round. But then round 3 starts and we're basically back to round 1. Garcia came out with even more pressure than the first and the second round, and at that point, Hernandez couldn't really deal with it. He let Garcia tee off on him, control the exchanges, and pretty securely got the decision win. Coming into this fight, I did not expect Garcia to win, in my opinion, and I didn't even expect him to put on such a dominant performance against the 5-fight win streak Alexander Hernandez. And considering everything that happened with that accident that happened not too long ago, makes the performance even more impressive. Now, if we're talking about what a good fight for Rafa Garcia would be next, looking at his explosiveness in that fight, I think the perfect fight for the fans would be against Terrence McKinney. It will be explosive from the first second, and if he beats McKinney, that's truly him being ready for a top 15 opponent. Alright, now for the 3-round co-main event between Norma Dumont and Joselyn Edwards. Coming into this one, Dumont was a pretty clear favourite, which made sense given that 6-fight win streak, including names like Duranami, Vieira, and Aldana on it. Now, this fight actually played out pretty interestingly. From the start, Dumont looked composed. She was popping in and out from the back foot with single shots and the occasional combinations, while Edwards was a lot more hesitant, mostly throwing only one shot at a time every few seconds. Dumont even shot for a takedown early, but Edwards did a pretty good job reversing the position and ending on the top, landing enough ground and pound to steal the round back from her. Then going into round 2, that's where things started to shift. Edwards clearly noticed that Dumont backed up, and every time she backed up, her chin was staying high, so she started putting more punches together, letting her hands and combinations go, landing clean. From that point, Edwards was the one outstriking Dumont, especially in rounds 2 and 3. Dumont constantly backing up didn't really help her case towards the judges either. But at the end of it, Edwards had clearly done enough, with 2 judges scoring at 29-28 and a very well-deserved 30-27 in her favour. Now, looking for what's next for Edwards, I don't think it makes too much sense for her to rush in and fight an opponent with a higher rank than her, because she was only rank 11th coming into this fight, so it's a pretty big jump. A more realistic step is someone like Irene Aldana, but there's been an issue with activity recently, so I'm not sure if they would realistically book that fight. Another option for Edwards that really makes sense would be Arlene Perez in a rematch. Arlene needs to fight upwards, and Edwards really needs to just sit and defend her position where she's at right now. I think that's the most logical move and would be a really competitive fight. Now for the main event of the evening. It was a fascinating clash between Yousef Zalal and former champion Aljamain Sterling, and it played out exactly how experience versus explosiveness usually does. The fight opened up with a pretty competitive.
They have you look like a queen though. No, you look a little light skinned. You look a little light skinned, Patty. You look nice. We were watching your. We were at the PI and we were watching the store, and they were playing UFC Fight Pass, and they were playing your fight against.
From there, Zalal looked to try and threaten a few submission attempts, but Aljo was pretty composed. He kept his posture and stayed in his guard in the position to bank the rest of the round. Round 2 followed a very similar pattern. Another heavy striking start, but Zalal overextended on a rear hand, and that's all Aljo needed. He smoothly took his back, dragged him to the ground, and completely took over. From that position, Aljo landed almost 70 strikes until the end of the round. It was a pure dominance. In round 3, the momentum shifted back towards Zalal. Sterling shot pretty early in the round to continue his wrestling, but it backfired. As he lifted Zalal, Zalal locked in a tight guillotine, which allowed him to reverse the position and take control. he held Aljo there for the rest of the round, which won him the round. In rounds 4 and 5, the championship experience truly showed. Aljo wasted no time whatsoever getting the fight to the ground. He took Zalal's back, went full backpack mode, threatening a deep rear naked choke. And at one point, it looked like Zalal tapped, I can't lie. But he managed to survive, and Aljo dictated every single second of that round. By round 5, the outcome was almost inevitable. Zalal stayed on the feet early, but his striking had become sloppy and very slow. Sterling picked his moment and secured another takedown, once again controlled him for the remainder of the fight. And after 5 rounds, it was a clear 49-45 victory for Sterling. Looking into this fight, Aljo really should have never been the underdog. The experience gap was always going to be the difference between the two. And I felt Aljo could really impose his game plan whenever he wanted. Looking forward, I think Sterling deserves a step up in competition. A matchup against Lerone Murphy makes a lot of sense, with both fighters coming up short against Movsar Evloev. This could be the perfect fight to see who truly belongs in the top 5 of the featherweight division. Alright, well, if you watched this video, I just want to say thank you. Please subscribe and like this video. It's my first video, so not anything crazy. Don't really know what I'm doing too much, but if you watched, I just want to say I appreciate you, and stay tuned for the next one.